The Jets are one of those rare sports teams that should be seen as an inspiration to us all. They entered this season with a singular goal, that being the acquisition of their golden-haired savior Trevor Lawrence. And they fought tirelessly for this goal. They dripped blood, sweat, and tears, climbed up mountains, rammed through valleys, and even with their backs against their walls, their dream on the verge of escaping through their hands, they found a way. They had men who would go as far to sacrifice their whole career for their collective dreams. And the fans deserve credit themselves for putting up with Adam Gase for this long. Unfortunately, they hit a roadblock last week with the win against the Rams, making the organization contemplate a future where they just miss out on the first pick in 2021. Trevor Lawrence was the one sure thing in this draft for the Jets. With the number 2 pick comes a overflow of different possibilities. In this video, we will examine the pros and cons of 3 main avenues the Jets can take. If you end up liking this and you want to see some more football content from me, consider showing some love to the video. And without further ado, let's get right into it. During their win, the world was reminded of the promise of Sam Darnold. I personally wasn't as high on this thick, trunky coastal kid as some others. I'm looking at you, Colin.
Sam Darnold, blue-collar work ethic, big, trunky, arm, feet, coachable.
But then again, I thought Josh Rosen was going to pan out in the league. At just 23 years of age, Darnold is still 6 months younger than the rookie sensation Joe Burrow. While Darnold has been less than spectacular for the Jets so far, he simply hasn't been given too much opportunity to succeed, being drafted by one of, if not the worst developmental franchises in the league, having to endure incompetent head coaching, constant staff turnover, and talent deficiencies in all areas of the game. Any guy who does manage to grow into an above average player jumps at the first opportunity to exit. Talent comes through one way and quickly out the next. And it is for this exact reason that this decision could prove to be the most viable. It doesn't really even matter what Darnold's true ceiling is. Any talent period will struggle to get their needed nourishment and support on this team. There haven't been many guys who can come in and turn a franchise such as this around. This move is made with the notion that Lawrence is the only QB prospect with the potential to become a transcendent player, capable of winning despite these talent deficiencies. And if you're operating under this thought process, selecting Fields or Wilson with the 2nd pick would be simply restarting what happened with Darnold, leaving them more or less in the same situation 3 years down the line. By trading down, the Jets can invest in the needed infrastructure needed to compete in the future. This, along with other moves, can get the Jets a promising young core. Very similar to what Buffalo did prior to landing Allen. They built up a very solid, young, exciting defensive squad, a competent head coaching, a competent structure, made a good, stable foundation for when they did draft their quarterback in Josh Allen. He would have a good supporting cast and not too much pressure on him on day one. The possible downsides of this is what we touched on earlier. The current infrastructure of this team is not set up to where they can keep any talent they find. If they do trade down, if they do collect these assets, without a revamping of that front office, they will lose a lot of them in the coming years. There's also the question about the depth of a draft from year to year. The idea that there simply may not be enough good prospects later in the rounds that would warrant a number 2 overall pick. But we've seen time and time again with good scouting and good player development, there are legit gems in every single round from 1st to 7. This move is made with a lot of the preconceived notions and general thought process of the first scenario. The only difference being that the Jets will see the depth of this draft and coming drafts pale in comparison to the top end non-QB prospects. Those prospects will be seen as crucial building blocks going forward, with or without Darnold. There are a couple of guys who could be drafted in this scenario, ranging from linebacker Michael Parsons, edge rusher Greg Rosario, or even breakout wide receiver Jamar Chase. But I'm inclined to believe they would take Penei Sewell, a prospect who may walk into the NFL as a Pro Bowl caliber lineman. Sewell will be an amazing pairing alongside their other young offensive lineman stud. and projects to vault their line to elite status for years to come, regardless of who is under center. This will be rebuilding from the outside in and ensuring that when they eventually get their QB, he won't be crippled within 3 years. Still, this idea of building a stable foundation for when that QB does eventually come. No matter who the Jets end up taking at this spot, they would add a prospect with elite upside as they prepare for another losing season and search for their transcendent QB. Out of all the decisions mentioned in this video, this is probably the safest choice. There is no real downside to taking a top-end, possibly generational offensive lineman. The only possible cause of regret I can see with this pick is if Justin Fields or Zach Wilson become great elite QBs. It's a good transition into the last main decision the Jets could make. While it's a fact that Darnold has had far from the best support, he shoulders a good portion of the blame for his poor performances over the past 3 years. Even in year 3, he still struggles to read more than half the field, his mechanics and footwork can be a borderline nightmare, and his accuracy is usually far from par. While he can still end up being a fine QB under a different system, the Jets will move off of him this season if they believe his ceiling to be that of a game manager. If he's not traded, Darnold will be entering a prove-it season next year, leaving New York with very little options. If he does indeed show he can be an average QB in the league, the Jets will be faced with the hard decision to either throw the bag at a QB who won't even let them compete in their own division, or let him walk away for nothing. If he proves to be a dud, his trade value at that point will be substantially lower than it is now, and once again they'll lose him for next to nothing. By taking either Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, or trading down a few spots to take Trask, the Jets could swindle a future first rounder for a QB they believe to be damaged goods. It would be the continuation of the inside-out mentality that they have been operating under for the past couple of years, in which they throw things at the wall and see what sticks at the QB position. Though the QBs in this draft don't project to have as much bust insulation as Lawrence, their upside is still very promising. Between Fields and Wilson, Fields is an athletic marvel who has shown he can succeed with elite organizational structure. From coaching to surrounding talent, he has thrived in the collegiate scene. He's still raw in NFL skill set terms and has shown to struggle against similar levels of competition. Wilson has blitzed up the mock drafts with his pro-style proficiency, dominating in an NFL-style offense, making advanced reads and making throws all over the field and in all types of windows. I personally believe Wilson has more upsides than Field and is a better fit for the Jets' current situation. The main threat with this move is the very real possibility that the Jets find themselves in the exact same position 3 years from now. If the Jets don't revamp their front office and get their dysfunction under control, the development of whichever QB they take would be hindered in a way very reminiscent of Darnold. There are no clear-cut choices for the Jets with the second pick. If I was the GM, I would select Penei Sewell with the second pick, ensuring at least an above-average offensive line for years to come. I'm very tentative about throwing any QB not named Lawrence into the dumpster fire of a roster. I also wouldn't keep Darnold. He may end up being decent, but he won't show us anything in year 4 that he hasn't in the past 3 seasons. And paying upwards of $20 million to a guy who's less than a game manager is a no play blow for me. But let me know what y'all think. I'm personally a Tom Brady and Patriots fan, so this is an outsider's perspective. And if you like this video, consider liking the video, and until next time, stay safe.